Alright, what's up, you guys? Let's do a quick trade recap. I caught 100 points or around 400 ticks. I did this with 5 micros, which was pretty low risk. I didn't risk so much because it's Monday, no news Monday. Honestly, thought it was going to be a bit of a slow Monday. Usually on Mondays, I either lose or I don't trade. So I was very lucky today. Not lucky. I was satisfied with the price action. But last week, I didn't really post so much because I didn't trade. I only took 2 trades last week. The trade on Friday was break even. And then Friday's price action was just disgusting. So I stayed away from it. Even though I only took 2 trades last week, I would say that it was one of my best performing weeks. And I know it's like, oh, but you didn't even make that much. It was my best performing week when it comes to discipline and when it comes to patience. But yeah, I mean, I'm locked in trading, outside of trading. I'm locked in into myself, mentally, physically, spiritually. I am dialed in. I'm actually giving this 100% my all. But today, 5 micros, low risk. You saw the entry right over here. So let's get right on to it. First of all, um, I'm trying to remember what I did. Okay, start on the daily time frame. And on the daily, we have this small supply zone here, which I honestly loved because at the time, we were rejecting this. Let me go back here actually, go more back. At the time, before market opened up on New York, we were rejecting this area here, 50% supply zone area or resistance area, whatever you want to call it. And I knew it was definitely an area of interest. So that's number one. I also had this marked as liquidity because it hasn't been touched yet. And then I went down the time frames, looked for supply and demand on the bigger time frames. That's my thing. Saw this 1 hour supply zone right here. There was a 90-minute supply zone, which was honestly, it was pretty wide. I did not like this zone too much, but what I did like was this reaction right here. Kind of retested that area and sold off again. So I marked it. I also marked this 45-minute zone, which I thought was way better looking than this 90-minute. But I did mark both. As you can see, it's a stacked, supply zone, which I normally don't like stacking on my zones. But today I chose to do it because we had good reactions from the zones right there from that 45 supply zone and right here from the 90-minute zone. So yeah, again, normally I don't stack up zones, but I chose to do it today because of their reactions from the zones. Also, coming into the market, what I usually love to do is have supply or demand zones above and below price and then take the breakout trade from those zones. But as you can see, I didn't really have much to go off of from this side. I didn't have any bigger time frame zones to mark. So what I did was I looked for a bigger time frame that we previously had broken through and have had good reactions to. For me, that was this 2 hour supply zone all the way back here. And the reason I loved it was because we broke through 50%, retested the zone, and rejected it. And at the time, we were kind of rejecting the 50% again. So coming into, the market being open and whatever, I already had my bias. And I don't like to say like, oh, I created a bias. I don't do that because I don't want to create a bias and then stick to it, because sometimes when you do that, you kind of get brainwashed into just sticking to your bias, even though the market is telling you something else. So, but I did, kind of create a small bias, I guess you could say, of, I could definitely see this pushing up. even though pre-market was so bearish, the only way I was going to go short was if we broke these lows right here, because then that would be breaking 50%. So yeah, these were all the supply zones. Actually, there was one more zone. It was a 5-minute supply zone right over here. Again, normally I don't mark 5-minute zones. But I did today, and I'll explain why in a second. Also, I didn't really take the trade off of it, but I'm gonna mark this down because it kind of does matter, with this trade. But anyways, I waited for the first 15-minute candle. Where was that? Let's see. Okay, boom. Jeez, right here. Crazy market open, to be honest. If you caught the longs from down here, bro, congratulations. That was an amazing trade. Like, actually, if you caught that down here. But yeah, I marked the highs and the lows of the 15-minute. But that's not why I was thinking longs. Once we closed above these both 50%, I was very bullish already because of these candle closes and the price action and the volume. So you guys know I don't trade the first 15 minutes. Unfortunately, I didn't take the longs from here because of that rule that I have in place. So I waited for the first 15 minutes. Once it did, I was either going to wait for a retest of, this 50% or a retest of this 50%. But as you can see, during that first 15-minute candle, we had already had a retest of 50%. So what that told me was, okay, either, the market is going to retest this area again, or it's going to continue going up because it has such a strong move up. So also, again, let's zoom in here. You can see this 5-minute supply zone is very small, but this 15-minute candle closed right below it. Not meaning, we're rejecting 50%. That's not what I thought, because I'm paying attention to the bigger time frames. If you look at the bigger time frame, you could see that we were rejecting this 50% area down here. Plus, we were breaking through this 90-minute / 45-minute supply zones. So most likely, we were going to continue to go up to the next area of interest, which was a 1-hour supply zone right here. Also, once I saw the longs coming in, I was like, okay, if it's a good trending day, most likely we're going to touch up on this daily supply zone 50% area / liquidity area. So at one point, I was aiming for up there, but I closed it out halfway there. Okay. But anyways, that was just confidence for the future. Geez, I'm getting so off topic. Let me get back to this trade recap. Basically, originally I was gonna wait for a retest, but there was already a retest. So I was like, okay, as soon as the next 5-minute candle broke structure to the upside, I got in long, right? So once we broke 50% right here, / the orb / I don't know, the wick structure, whatever you want to say, I took a long in that area. So I took a long around here. Actually, let me double check my entry. 339. Okay, let's see. And I think my entry was so far up because when I went long, it like glitched up and then my entry was up there. Again, my original stop loss was very wide because I wanted to let it breathe if it did pull back. And also, it's a Monday. I didn't want to risk so much, so I was only in with 5 micros. So it allowed me to have the wide stop loss. But anyways, okay, boom, 1-hour supply zone. This could have been my TP, but I was so confident in the longs that eventually I was aiming for 800 ticks / 200 points around this liquidity area / the 50% area of the daily supply zone. So, boom, market Okay, actually, I actually gotta explain this because it was pretty cool. Um, First of all, we touched up on this supply zone, and I was like, okay, you can TP here, or you can break even and let it play out. I chose to let it break even because I was very confident in the longs, again because of the bigger time frame. Um, so yeah, once we touched up on this 1 hour supply zone, I broke even, and as you can see, price action was, I promise you, it was this close to hitting my break even, and it completely reversed there, which was honestly very satisfying. I can't lie to you. It was beautiful. But yeah, I wanted to aim to up here. But for me, it's like I was already in the trade for around 40 minutes, 35 minutes. So I'm a scalper. I like to get in and out. And my TP, this TP4 actually hit, but it hit a couple hours after. So eventually I closed it out at around 400 ticks right here, locking in a 1 to 2. As you can see though, if we let this play out, eventually it hit those 800 ticks slash 200 points. I mean, it's still going up. So yeah, honestly, very beautiful trade. Beautiful Monday too. Mondays are usually pretty slow. So yeah, I'm glad that this Monday was pretty good. I was honestly very excited to trade, and I think it was because I did not trade as much last week. So that was probably why I was so excited. But yeah, seeing this TP4 hit doesn't make me think, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda done this. No, and honestly, it makes me even more confident in my trading. And I think for the future, is definitely going to be easier to hold. And but it's going to be easier to hold, obviously, if it moves faster in that direction, which I know it will. Eventually there's going to be a crazy day in Nasdaq, always. We just don't know when. But yeah, that was it for this trade recap. If you want to trade live with me, the link is below. If you want to get on a call with me, the link is also below. But thank you for watching.